Hello viewers, welcome to the session on an introduction to communication. We all have been listening to this word or to this phrase communication skills. Let us see what this communication is in this presentation. Here we go. I am Sunil Solomon Philip, working as an assistant professor of English in the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Right. Human beings, what is communication in the first place? Human beings cannot live in society without the help of communication. For as Socrates said, man is a social animal. Well, we always converse, we always interact, we always exchange our ideas, we exchange our pleasantries all the time. It's always a give and take process. It's not a one-way process, it's a two-way process. We give our ideas, we also take ideas. We learn from, each other. We learn from, one another. So, human beings cannot live in society without the help of communication. That's the reason it is said that man is the only creature that is endowed with the power of speech. Animals can't speak. God has gifted this, gift of communication to all of us. So let us use that in a proper way to communicate meaningfully and resourcefully. All right, fine. Communication is the very basic need of any organization and any individual. Well, for any organization to flourish or for an individual to flourish or shine in life, communication is the very basic need. Even in this program, what am I trying to do? Whatever I have learned, whatever I have studied about communication, I'm trying to, present my ideas, articulate my ideas and send the message across to our viewers. Fine. Communicative commonality is the crux of communication. That is the essence, or that is the summary of communication. Well, there are auditory means of communication. What are the auditory means of communication? It can be a speech, it can be a song, the tone of the voice, right? There are non-verbal means of communication. What are they? Body language, right? Sign language. It can be thumbs up, namaste, sign language, para language, right? Supporting language, the touch, the eye contact, most importantly. Media can be electronic media or print media. Now you are watching me in this program with the help of a camera, right? So the social media platforms, that is the media here. Print media, magazines, newspapers, journals, all those things. Pictures, graphics, and sound and writing. All these are means of communication. By the word graphics, I mean to say animation, or we see nowadays GIFs in WhatsApps. Graphic Interchange Format. Right? So all these are, means of communication. We communicate our ideas with the help of all these, auditory means, non-verbal means, through the pictures, images. That's the reason people say a picture is worth 1,000 words, according to a Chinese proverb. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Right. Okay. Origin and meaning of communication. Communication takes its origin from the Latin noun communis and the Latin verb communicare, meaning to make common, to transmit, to impart. Communication is a two-way process. It's never a one-way process, right? The sender sends the message and the receiver also tries to communicate to the sender or the speaker in terms of nodding his head or in terms of his facial expressions, body language, feedback, review, remarks. So that's how the receiver communicates to the sender of the message or the speaker of the message. Right. It's a natural activity of all human beings to convey opinions, information, ideas, feelings, emotions to others by words spoken or written. Well, the common impression, the common idea about communication among many of us is, by the word communication, people say spoken English, By the word communication skills, they mean spoken English. Well, communication is not just spoken, communication is also written. Spoken communication and written communication. Spoken communication, we use informal language. We use at times friendly language, colloquial expressions, right? For example, if they are Americans, they use the words such as I'm gonna, I wanna, meaning I'm going to. By the word gonna is I'm going to. And I wanna meaning I want to. So these are all spoken expressions. Whereas when it comes to written communication, we use official words, standard words. For example, therefore, all conjunctions, okay, progression markers, signposts. We use however, not only but also kinds of words. Right, okay, fine. Let us go and see more about this communication in this presentation. Well, this is the process of communication in the form of a diagram. The sender or the speaker or the writer is the sender. Imagine if we take it in the form of a triangle, right? It will be something like this. So here, a speaker or writer. What does he do? A speaker delivers the message, or a writer writes the text. And here, listener or reader, for your easy understanding. So, in between the speaker and the message, there is a channel. There is a channel. That channel can be a microphone, right? And in between the speaker, writer, and listener, reader, there is feedback. There is feedback, review, remarks given to the sender, speaker of the message, or writer of a text. So this is the communication process. In the diagram that I've drawn, it's a triangular process where the speaker, he delivers the message, or writer writes the text. The channel here can be, for example, it can be a workshop or a webinar or a presentation such as this is a channel, right? For the speaker, such as I, who is presenting this piece of lecture. Whereas if it is a writer, it can be a text. It can be an article. It can be a report, right? And in between the speaker, writer, and listener, reader, we have feedback, review, remarks. What is the feedback about the text or the message? For example, now after watching this program, you will decide the feedback of this presentation, the usefulness of it, the resourcefulness of it. Isn't it? Right, okay. So that's where we have the speaker encodes the message and the reader decodes the message. Or the writer encodes the text and the reader decodes the text according to his understanding. He will make meaning of the text. Right, okay. Now, communication has been defined by several theorists in several ways. Let us see some of the definitions given by some of these theories about communication. According to W.H. Newman, communication is an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions, or emotions by two or more persons. Right. That means it can be on a one-on-one basis, or it can be a group communication. Like we have individual activities, pair activities, and group activities. Individual is one-on-one basis, right? Pair can be two people, and group can be many. Fine. Alan Lois says communication is the sum of all the things one person does when he wants to create an understanding in the mind of another, right? It involves a systematic and continuous process. So it's the sum of all the things one person does when he wants to create an understanding in the mind of another. It involves a systematic and continuous process. According to Norman B. Siband, communication is the transmission and reception of ideas, feelings, and attitudes, both verbally and non-verbally. So it is not just transmission; it is also reception. Of course, maybe in this presentation, I may not be able to receive your ideas, but definitely maybe in your feedback, maybe in your review and remarks about the presentation, right? When, for example, when we buy a product, we always go and see the rating of the product. We see the comments given by different buyers. Similarly, in the same fashion, here, communication is both transmission and reception of ideas, feelings, and attitudes, both verbally, that means in terms of words, and non-verbally. That means in terms of facial expressions, again, body language, posture, eye contact, smile, the way I use my hands and shoulders, all that. In general, we could define communication as a two-way process that results in a shared meaning or common understanding between the sender and the receiver. So it's a two-way process which results in a shared meaning which results in a mutual understanding, which results in a common understanding between the sender and the receiver. Okay, fine. What are the elements of communication? You see, whatever we saw in the diagram just now, those elements, those 5 elements of communication is what I'm going to, discuss now. These are the elements on which I'm going to throw light on. The communication process is dynamic in nature rather than a static phenomenon. What do you mean by dynamic? What I mean by dynamic, right? Communication is dynamic, not static, right? By the word dynamic, I mean to say it is ever evolving. It is a never-ending process. It's an everlasting process. That means it keeps borrowing words from other languages. Most of the words are anglicized from other foreign languages. It's always, vibrant. It's always vibrant. The language is always vibrant, and it keeps, we always see new words coming up. That's the reason nowadays we see webinars. We see words such as, modern words, latest words, okay, such as, webworms. Earlier we used to have words such as bookworms, but now we have webworms, latest words. So language is ever evolving. It keeps evolving. It's never, static. It's never, it's like a river that is flowing afresh all the time. It's not a stagnant water. It's not a stagnant, pond. It's a river that flows, that always flows. Okay? Right. Okay. Hence, it is considered as a continuous and dynamic interaction, both affecting and being affected by many variables. What is considered as a continuous and dynamic interaction? Communication is considered as a continuous and dynamic interaction. It affects and it also gets affected. A-F-F-E-C-T. It affects, which is a verb, and it also gets affected. Right? People generally say, healthy habits, affect you positively, whereas bad habits affect you negatively. Isn't it? So let us go for the healthy habits of developing our word power, our fluency, accuracy, command, authority in developing these communication skills, in improving these communication skills. Do not forget to interact in English on social media platforms. Most of us, what we do is we use English script to communicate in Telugu on WhatsApps, Instagrams, Facebooks, right? Which should be avoided. Avoid that habit of interacting in Telugu by using English script. Interact in English, communicate in English. We always say communication skills are important, but what is the use if we don't communicate in English? Isn't it? That's the reason I say you might be a brilliant person in your hard skills, in your domain knowledge. But unless you have the required confidence, you have the required communication skills to present those ideas properly, articulate those ideas clearly to the interviewer, to the listeners, right? To your colleagues. What's the use of all that domain knowledge? I hope you'll agree with me. All right, fine. The basic communication model consists of 5 elements. It comprises 5 elements. What are they? The same things that we saw in the diagram. Okay, and they are the sender, the receiver. I am the sender in this presentation, and you are the receiver. And the message. The message is about communication skills. And the channel. The channel is maybe through this social media platform, and the feedback that you provide after watching this program. So these are the 5 elements that are involved in communication. If the same thing, if we take the example of written communication, the sender will be the writer, the receiver will be the reader, and the message is maybe an article or a editorial, and the channel may be a newspaper. Feedback is the way people respond, react, right? Their review and remarks. So these are the 5 elements of communication, which are very, very important, which should be kept in mind, while improving our communication skills, during improving our communication skills. 3 P's: plan, prepare, present. Your planning is important, your preparation is important, and your presentation depends on your planning and preparation. Okay, fine. So sender, he plays a key role. He's a key role player in initiating, illustrating, summating, and eliciting, asking questions, summating the ideas, generalizing the ideas, giving examples, concrete, substantial, examples in between, tangible examples in between, so that the listeners can understand the message properly, right? And initiating the ideas, asking questions, all that is what a sender does, what a writer does, what a speaker does. Verbal as well as non-verbal techniques, easy to follow and understand the language, not using lots of technical jargon in between, pronunciation most importantly, right? If it is writing, punctuation marks, correct words, presenting ideas in a simple and lucid style, eye contact, proper grammar, giving accurate information, understanding of who the receiver is in order to modify the message to make it more relevant. What I'm trying to say is making it customer friendly, customizing it, tailor-made, tailor-making it, depending on the level of the audience, depending on the targeted audience. The message has to be customized. The message has to be tailor-made so that the message is, the outcome is productive, fruitful, and result-oriented. All right, fine. So you should also keep in mind who the audience are. What is the message? All the 6 areas. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. These 6 areas will also be important for you, just for your general understanding. Who are the audience? Okay, what is that I'm trying to present? Where? Where are they going to implement these things? Okay, when will they able to understand these things? Where, when, why? What is the purpose of all this? Okay, who, what, where, when, why, and how? How do you do that in a proper manner? So keep all these 6 areas also in your mind in communication. Right, okay. A receiver is the one to whom the sender transmits the message. That means a receiver is the one who receives the message. If it is a reader, he reads the text. If he is a listener, he listens to the message or the lecture. The receiver will communicate verbally and non-verbally. Well, the receiver can also communicate verbally in terms of giving his feedback, review, remarks, and non-verbally if he is sitting in the audience in terms of his facial expressions, body language, posture, smile, nod, and other things. Listen carefully, sitting up straight and making eye contact, most importantly eye contact, without distractions and any other avocations simultaneously. The listener listens carefully, attentively, actively. He sits up straight if the message is interesting, useful, resourceful, and he makes eye contact with the speaker without distractions, with undivided attention. Keep this, remember this word undivided attention or undistracted attention, and any other avocations simultaneously. Nodding and smiling to demonstrate that the message is understood. Well, this is the non-verbal communication that the receiver sends to the sender by nodding his head, by smiling, okay, by sending positive gestures, positive positive signals to the sender or to the speaker, so that the process of communication is result oriented. Okay, fine. Message, the second element in the process of communication. An oral presentation, a written document, an advertisement, a website. A message could be verbal or non-verbal. It can be just a diagram, right? It can be an image. It can also be an oral presentation such as this presentation, a written document, maybe a report, a letter, an email, an advertisement that we generally see, the hoardings, the billboards, a website. Any of these can be messages. The sender must not only compose the message carefully, but also evaluate the ways in which the message can be interpreted. So the sender's job is not just to compose it, not just to compile the message, but carefully, but the sender's job is also to evaluate the ways in which the message can be explained, interpreted, demonstrated, displayed. Fine. We should always think from the point of the receiver. We should step into the shoes of the listener or reader, so that the sender can explain the message in a proper way, clearly and properly. Fine, okay. Let us go to the point of channel. The message is transmitted to the receiver through certain channels, which may be either formal or informal. The channel sits between the sender and receiver. I showed you the triangular diagram where the channel sits in between the sender and the receiver. Okay. From the spoken word to radio, television, an internet site, or something written like a book, a letter, or magazine. All these are channels. It can be electronic media, as I told you, or print media. It can be radio, it can be television, it can be YouTube channel, it can be an internet website, a blog, right? A book, letter, or magazine. All these are channels of information, resources of information. All right. Okay. Now coming to the fifth element and the last element of this communication process, that is feedback, review, remarks. What is that? The last element of effective communication, feedback, describes the receiver's response or reaction. The receiver can transmit feedback through questions, comments, right? It can be positive criticism. It can also be negative criticism. It can be constructive criticism. It can also be destructive criticism, right? Or just supporting the message that has been delivered or that was delivered. Feedback enables the sender to determine how the receiver interpreted the message and how it can be further fine-tuned. So the feedback always enables, empowers, enlightens, enriches the sender to further fine-tune his, mode of communication, his, modus operandi of communication, so that the listeners, the readers are benefited, in a better way, so that the communication is more fruitful and more, result-oriented and productive. Right. Well, what is the takeaway? What is your takeaway in this presentation? That is an introduction to communication. The meaning, process, and nuances of communication is what we have learned in this presentation. That is the same. And we have also seen the 5 elements involved in communication. That is the sender, the receiver, the message, the channel, and the feedback. Sender needs to mentally visualize the encoded communication from the receiver's decoding point of view. So that means visualization is very important for the sender, right? About the encoded communication, about the communication that he's encoding, or about the text that he's encoding, right? From the receiver's decoding point of view, right? How best will they be able to understand the message with the help of examples or language or explanation, So that part a sender has to visualize. He has to foresee. He has to forecast. Right? Okay. Then receiver's correct interpretation of the sender's message results in successful communication. So the receiver's correct understanding, the receiver's correct comprehension of the sender's message that leads to successful communication. So viewers, that's all about an introduction to communication. Thank you for watching this presentation. Keep watching the IARE YouTube presentations. I'm Sunil Solomon Philip. Thank you very much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.